How do we think Kate is responding then? Let's see what people think, and then I'll share my ideas. I think she was doing well until the memorial. I'm trying to think about what order everything happened now. She was responding well until the attack on the memorial. Jill, you've put well in inverted commas. Kate seems to feel the need to put on a strong face and not grieve until she crumbles into Vi's arms. Yep. I think I would imagine, and this is just a big assumption here, that Kate has probably been brought up in a kind of stiff upper lip, just get on with things type way. Don't let your emotions rule you or dictate your behavior too much. So I'd imagine that she was putting on a strong face. That, and like I say, it's just an assumption. And I guess maybe that's why she breaks with Vi, is because she doesn't have that expectation of her. Yeah, the pressure of the Kiriman name. She was trying to process her anger in a reasonable manner, but then radicalized by the attack then. I mean, there wasn't long, was there, really, between the memorial, I don't think, and the incident taking place. Yeah, she's doing quite a bit of bottling up in her feelings, needing to stay strong on the outside for others. I think she had started a journey of self-blame with taking some responsibility there, because you see that there's that scene, isn't there, with her dad, where she says, I had the shot, or something similar like that. And actually her dad doesn't even respond to that. He doesn't say anything like, you did what you could, or, you know, just anything to help her not feel responsible. He doesn't say anything. I think he says, your mother wanted you to have this, and he hands her the Kiriman key or something along those lines. But you can certainly see some kind of could have, would have, should have type thinking there, and some responsibility, taking some responsibility for what happened. And now I think about it, I don't know if anyone actually suggests otherwise to her at all. I'm thinking about, and we're not going to talk about this, but I'm thinking about kind of almost like Mel's and Jace's conversations felt a lot more compassionate in terms of kind of what happened to Victor. And I know that wasn't kind of Jace's fault, but that kind of interaction between them just felt a lot more compassionate than what you got between Kate and her dad, and Kate and anyone else really, apart from Vi maybe. And I think it's easy to kind of think about Caitlyn as, you know, upper class, quite privileged, but that doesn't change her experience at all. Her experience is still her experience. It's easier to think that, I don't know, she never wanted for anything, and she had a lot given to her, I guess, by virtue of her family name. Because she was always asking, wasn't she, did my parents kind of pay for this, or did they put in a word? Am I here because of them? She's probably, for some people, quite an easy character to dislike. I'd be really interested if there's some connection between people's own kind of social position or political position as a viewer and which characters they attune to more than others. Kate seems to be a pretty lonely girl, a misfit, yeah. She doesn't seem to have a lot of people she really feels close to and that she can lean on. Off topic, but interesting how Jinx's face for her is laughing when she pictures it. Yeah. It's the other way around as well, isn't it? Whenever you see Jinx picturing Caitlyn, she's always like, got that snarl, like, I've got Vi and you haven't kind of look, where she never does that. It's interesting the different perspectives they have for each other. Yeah, so that's interesting, Carol. I was thinking about this. It's my mouse. Is that, I mean, I don't know how it works, but I'm guessing if you have a parent as a counsellor, do you then become a counsellor? I don't know if you have to be voted in, or what the process is. But it's interesting that Kate decided to become an enforcer. I wonder if there's an element there where she felt just close to Grayson, and whether she almost modelled, as in Grayson was modelling kind of what she wanted. Because Grayson had that whole conversation of what are you shooting for? To maybe make her think about what kind of person she was, made her think about her self-identity and self-concept. think about what kind of person she wanted to be, what's important to her, what values does she have. Yeah, so like KG says, I think that despite not wanting for material things, she definitely was wanting for a sense of support and independent identity. I think that's really important, this independent identity. And I wonder if she became an enforcer to try and have that independent identity. So then the question then becomes, why an enforcer? Well, that's the question I pose in my head. There's something maybe there to do with Grayson and their relationship, but also Grayson, when Grayson says, "What are you shooting for?" Just before that, I think Grayson has made a speech about serving and justice or something like that. And I wonder if that resonates with Caitlyn. I wonder if Caitlyn sees some of those qualities in herself or values some of those qualities and wants to embody them. And that leads her to become an enforcer instead of the political path, I'm guessing, that she would have gone on. Because she's an enforcer, but she's not even a particularly high up enforcer, is she, when we see her? Because she's investigating crime scenes and getting a bit of a bollocking for going a bit maverick with some of them. She's like standing guard at places. But for her, that's probably what she was shooting for, that kind of sense of justice, that sense of protection for people. Knowing I can protect people, I think, is the words that Grayson used. Yeah, so I wonder if there's a value there around protection. I also wonder if there's a value around justice. So justice being kind of mixed in with this idea of fairness. And I wonder, maybe she didn't have that then, but maybe that's developed. So as she's seen the state of the Undercity, as she's seen the disparity between the two places, between Piltover and Zorn, maybe her sense of justice has started to grow, or had started to grow. Maybe that shifted a bit now, but maybe that's something that she finds important. When you go back to the Mad Tea Party, Caitlyn is terrified of Jinx. She's nearly hyperventilating and even flinches when she walks by. I can't remember that scene that well now. I need to go back and visit it. I mean, she had just been kidnapped, I'm guessing. But then there's the bit where she gets free and she has the chance to shoot Jinx. She doesn't look that terrified at that point, because she's kind of caught between, do I shoot Jinx? And Vi's kind of pleading her not to. So there's a decision point there. And I guess that's a really interesting point, because let's say she values protection. Say she values protecting, what does really matter, Piltover. Maybe she at the time values that more because she's an enforcer for Piltover. She has the chance to take out Jinx. She had the shot, as she says later, to her dad. But she listens to Vi pleading. So I'm trying to play this out in my mind. She listens to Vi pleading, and she decides not to take the shot because she doesn't want to hurt Vi. Is it because she doesn't want to hurt Vi, or she wants to protect any potential relationship she might have with Vi later on? And she knows by shooting Jinx, she'll push Vi away. So she comes to the point where her decision is, do I act in line with my values of justice and protection and take out Jinx? Or do I go for an emotional response of protecting my own relationship with a potential partner later on? And then she makes a decision to protect Vi and protect her relationship. And the consequence of that decision is Silco gets shot, which Caden probably isn't that bothered about. But Jinx uses fish bones and takes out her mum. And perhaps there's more to it than that. Perhaps not only does Jinx take out mum, but that is then the catalyst for the entire war that's probably about to ensue. So not only does she lose her mum with her value of protection and justice, but she prompts this massive war, which is like literally the opposite of protection. That's going to lead to a massive, massive cognitive shift, I think, in how you see things, in how you see yourself. Because now we see her, she's all like, I am whatever of House Kirimin and I'm head of the guard, or whatever position she has. But she looks like she's very focused on, I'm not letting my emotions dictate this. This is what I want to go and do. This is, I want to go and protect. I want to go and serve justice. That is it. It just so happens Vi's along on the ride. But that decision that she had to make between shooting Jinx or not shooting Jinx and saving her relationship with Vi was probably, and the consequences of the choice that she made were probably a massive defining feature for her in terms of her self-identity. Let me just have, I've said quite a lot there. Let me just catch up with the knowing I can protect people, I think, is the words that, yeah. Knowing how to handle this weapon means being able to protect people. That's what Grayson said, wasn't it? Yeah. I think she still wants to rid the Undercity of its crime and violence. Yep, that's the justice protection angle, but still doesn't understand why it's like that to begin with. I mean, I guess she doesn't need to know that at that point to try and do something about it. It's like I don't understand how the NHS has ended up in such the shit state that it's in, but I can still go out and work for them and try to help as many people as I can. I like how Arcane shows Kate often using her gun to protect. For example, shooting Savika's arm, shooting the blade away. That was such, I even commented that was such a cool shot, as in camera shot, an animation shot, but also shot. The way that blade was going straight towards Vi's face and it just deflects off. Such a great part. We don't see her use it to take lives, but to protect. I mean, she also gave it up at some point, didn't she, to get the shimmer earlier on. So she gave, but that's still like a sense of protection, isn't it? The conversation about her conflict with if she goes alone. Yeah, that's a good point. Kate's also been pretty sheltered. Yeah, I believe she's empty. So does that make her experience, like potentially make her experience harder for her? What's this, Sarah? Is this like, is this potential spoily stuff you're trying not to say? Is that zip? Is that mouths with zips? Zibbit. Like Austin Powers. Zibbit. Oh, you're telling people. So I'm going further down. You're telling people to zip it. Zip it. Whoever's trying to drop spoilers, zip it, lock it, throw away the key. Do you think it's likely, with the numbers she saw at the memorial, that because it's not the single deranged individual, it's everyone in the city that needs to be controlled, for a lack of a better word? Yeah, I know you're asking. Yeah, I think so. Does she refer to them as... No, it's not her that refers to them as animals. It's the guy in the wheelchair, isn't it? I can't remember his name. But he's shifted that way, hasn't he? But there's got to be a lot of people in the Undercity who have got absolutely nothing to do with this, who are just trying to go about taking care of themselves. Yeah, I think you're right, Joe. I think she does. I think because when I first thought of it, I thought of Caitlyn saying it, and then I wasn't sure I was right or not. Salo, yeah. She says it after the memorial. Yeah, that's what I was thinking actually. Yeah, it's when they're having that discussion about the hole getting smaller. It's around then, isn't it? I think she does refer to them briefly as animals, but then catches herself. Yeah, so maybe. Yeah, but maybe that's the beginning of a bit of a shift, kind of an unconscious kind of shift, perhaps going on for her. I wonder if there's an aspect here as well, whether she's questioning her choices of becoming an enforcer at all to begin with. Because her mum didn't want her to become an enforcer, I don't think. She wanted her to take the path of politics. And I wonder if there's an element of, I wish I'd listened to my mum now because maybe we wouldn't have been in this situation to begin with. But again, that comes to what if, should haves, could haves, butterfly effect type stuff where just one small thing can change a whole outcome. But I guess interesting now, she's back in the role of head enforcer, whatever her position is, and she's back in that value of protection. can't remember, what was it Grayson said? It sounds like she's back in that position again. Knowing how to handle this weapon means being able to protect people. That's trophy enough. Maybe she's resorted back to that now. It'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see what her relationship is with Vi now, while she's got this kind of hat on, this head enforcer, I'm going after Jinx hat on, whether she's going to, how that's going to impact that relationship. Because at the end of episode 1, season 2, they're obviously on board with each other. Like Vi's joined in with her gauntlets. But I wonder what that relationship is going to be like now. Whether she's going to allow Vi. Is she going to be less emotionally attached to Vi in order so she can carry out what she needs to do as part of her mission with Jinx? Because she's already been in this situation once where her decision making led to a very severe consequence for her. You guys all know this is really unfair. You know what's going to come. I reckon in the episode tomorrow I'm going to watch it, we're going to see some Jinx, because there wasn't any Jinx in that episode. Which was really interesting. And I found that interesting because someone wrote in one of the comments that the show, they realised I was talking about Jinx a lot, and they said something like, the show isn't all about Jinx, you know. And I was like, yeah, I kind of know that. I thought I was being quite fair in my spread. But actually, that episode, season 2, episode 1, was my favourite episode so far, and it didn't have Jinx in it at all. Cricket noises. Yeah, so last thing raises a good question. I don't know the answer to this. Do you think with the amount of personal investment she has in catching Jinx, she should be leading the strike force? And I wonder if catching Jinx is going to give her what she wants. So the questions are, is it going to give her what it wants? Is there someone better who could be leading it? Because although she does have personal investment, maybe that gives her some drive and determination that's needed. Or would you want, who else would you want leading that? And if she's not doing that, what should she be doing instead? Joanna says you love hearing me make theories. Yeah. That's a part of the human brain, isn't it? It likes to problem solve. It likes to try and figure out what's going on, what's going to happen. Kate and Vi in the strike team as well. Yeah, you got Kate and Vi, you got Maddie, Vanda 2.0 with the squash nose. I think she's the best person. Oh yeah, I mean we've got Ambessa, haven't we? So Ambessa seems to have taken a bit of a shining to Kate at the end of episode 1. And if you've if there's anyone who's going to strategize with you, Ambessa's probably in one of the best places. She's probably got a lot of experience. I mean, maybe there's an argument for not only should Caitlyn potentially not be leading the task force because of her personal investment, but should there be a task force at all? Because Mel had the idea of putting out the reward and letting Zorn kind of sort it out. And if there's such a push for power and for money, I guess, in Zorn, with Silco gone, I'm sure the Chem Barons will be falling over themselves to try and ransom's not the right word, to try and locate Jinx for the reward money, because no one else seems particularly tied to Jinx than Silco did down there. I think Savika was beginning to get a bit of a soft spot for her, but I don't know if it would be enough for her to go out of her way to help her. So if Piltover did put on a massive bounty on Jinx's head, I'm sure there'll be lots of people who would go for that. Jace wouldn't have made the weapons if she wasn't one leading the task force. Fair enough. She has a good approach, it seems, currently. She leveled with Vi about being worried that either her or Jinx will die. Yeah. So she's got some control in the approach. I think she has. I don't know how that will manifest itself when it comes to face with Jinx again. Is it going to end up in the same situation with having to choose between taking the shot? I mean, a lot of it will probably come down to Vi's response in the moment as well. Because let's face it, in that dinner party scene, if Vi wasn't there, Caitlyn would have taken the shot. For sure. I can imagine. And she does have the perspective of Zorn people. Has that shifted? Has grief shifted that for her? Because we saw her being quite empathetic and compassionate, didn't we? Down in the Undercity. But maybe that's shifted a bit. And I guess that connects with what last thing is just asked. Another question, who do you think Kate thinks attacked the memorial? See, I wonder if she's just starting to try and it all kind of meshes into one. The animals of the Undercity. And hence that change of perspective away from the empathy and compassion that she had before. I'm not sure if she thinks that Jinx was solely responsible. There's part of me that thinks if she thinks Jinx was solely responsible, or even partly responsible, that Jinx would have been there. Yeah. Nathaniel, that's a bit of a shift, isn't it? Good to have you here, Nathaniel. Yeah, Cat literally stops full-scale invasion. Sorry, Kate literally stops full-scale invasion. And ironically, the final push for Kate to do this comes from Vi. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point, Jill. What were her three objectives again? Find Jinx. Is it destroy Shimmer? What was her third thing? I can't remember. I know someone mentioned it further up, but it'll take me ages now to scroll. And in about 5 seconds, someone will have written it. Silco supporters. So take out Jinx, take out Silco supporters. Okay. Destroy Shimmer. I mean, taking out Silco supporters, that could take a while, couldn't it? Are you a Silco supporter? No. So all the Chem Barons, I'm guessing, all of the Shimmer Factory people. Oh, will she take out the Shimmer Factory people? Are we saying they were just kids? How do you then start determining who's supporting Silco because they didn't have any option? Maybe they were coerced into it with who are genuinely supporting Silco. That could get a bit messy. Oh, if the wording is eliminate agents loyal to Silco, then an agent. And define agent. It could get difficult though. I mean, we can think of the obvious ones like the Chem Barons. I don't know how much Caitlyn knows about the Chem Barons and that they all have like their own kind of little council. Yeah, I assume that means people who are big players in general, but how will they know who they are? How will they know they've got all of them? How do they know there's not big players downplaying it? Well, yeah, Luana, that's a good point. The Chem Barons aren't particularly supportive of Silco, were they? They just kind of liked him because he was paying them, I'm guessing. Or they were reaping the rewards of what Silco had set up. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Silco now gone. I guess someone will want to try and replace him. Otherwise, it'll be chaos. Yeah, Shimmer is interesting because we've seen good healing properties. Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing Caitlyn's taking the stance of it helped develop the Fishbones weapon and just how strong it's making everyone in those like shimmer suits. Yeah, what is the key? So I didn't really grasp that the first time round. There were lots of things around masks with beaks, I think, which I didn't want to comment on in case I completely missaw that. I thought it might be a bit odd if I just randomly started talking about that. Because the key, she didn't need the key to know that she, was a decorated officer and she could hold that position. Like didn't really understand what the key did. It gave us some history, I think, but I don't know really what into. Oh, okay, I'll find out. Yeah, I figured it was something historical, something to some kind of historical information, but I wasn't particularly sure what. In most programs that I watch, I kind of think if I haven't figured something out pretty quickly, I'm not meant to know it quite yet. But with Arcane, because it's so deep, I'm never really sure now. So let's just spend some time. Let's just summarize what we think of Kate. So I think something that was interesting was, let me find where we did Kate's. Yeah, okay. Let's see what we put in this, because I've not looked at it since. So we did this at the end of season 1. Loads of stuff has happened already. Did we do one for Kate? Cupcake, that's one. So we had like her main presenting problem at that time was her worldview shifting. She was trying to find herself. She was establishing herself in the world in independence. Now this is kind of the same thing, but it's changed so much at the same time. Because just kind of summarizing what we've just talked about, she kind of knew what she stood for in this idea of protection and justice and serving. But then when she was put in a position where she could really, really embody all of that by taking out Jinx, she didn't take the shot that she reflects on later and says, I had the shot, I didn't take it. Because she instead chose her potential relationship or future relationship with Vi over that decision. But now we've gone kind of full circle, because now she's trying to re-establish herself back into her world and her self-identity, self-concept by this kind of strike force, this once again into a position of protection and justice. But at the same time of this, she's lost family, her protective factors. I mean, her dad didn't really comfort her or say, make any attempts to say she wasn't responsible. That's got to sting. She's lost her mum. She's still got the protective factors of money, I'm guessing. I don't know how helpful that would actually be, but she has status. She's still got a very good shot. She's still got Vi. So she's still got some protective factors here for her. Oh, she's got such an interesting story arc, hasn't she? Let's have a look. Yeah, did you write that before I brought it up? Honestly, you pick up something. Thank you. That doesn't happen often, believe me. If you look at it from another perspective, okay, I've not read this yet, but I like the sound of this. In your opinion, why did Vi join the squad? From her perspective, she went against all her principles. Yeah, so like I was really confused because she was so disgusted by the Enforcer's badge, wasn't she? That she threw it on the ground. She even stepped back from it. She was like, they killed my parents. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. And then she's shaking Maddie's hand to the extent when I'm looking at Maddie thinking, Maddie's an Enforcer, right? She's wearing the Enforcer's outfit. Vi's even commenting on Enforcer stuff like, are you here to move us along? Are you going to arrest us? But this was so juxtaposed with like this handshake and her hating Enforcers. I had to like quickly Google, is Maddie an Enforcer? Because I thought, I've made like a catastrophic error here in who I think Enforcers are, I think. So that was already weird. Maybe she was just mega hungover and just like went with it. But the level of disgust she has, that does seem to be at odds. And then she essentially becomes part of an Enforcer strike force. Although I guess it's got a very specific purpose. See what people just say about what's Harris said? People agreeing with this. I don't think she went against her principles. The seeds were planted previously in a few instances. It's muddy, though, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, Harris. So much of Vice principles come from Vanda. Avoid war to avoid loss. Don't be selfish. Whatever happens is on you. So it does sound like there's that kind of greater good, more, there's more than just me kind of perspective. Harris, do you think it's like a way of her giving something to Kate? Yeah, potentially. I think there's certainly a relational aspect there, isn't there? I mean, to be quite frank, when there's like this part in that episode where someone said something like, "Oh, who's going to do this, or who have we got, or what army have we got, or something," and then you see a shot of Caitlyn, Maddie, Vanda 2.0, and I think that's it. And then Vi comes in. And I was kind of thinking, I mean, it's kind of not the most powerful group, really, are they? I mean, Maddie at the moment looks like she's going to be all right, but nothing special. Vanda 2.0 is strong. He's got like a big shield. But if they're going up against massive shimmer suits like that Hulkbuster that there was before, they're going to struggle a bit. Unless Ambessa's army, like they needed Ambessa. I thought Vi joined because she think Powder is all gone and Jinx's control. Maybe because there's that conversation, isn't there, that she has about, I understand that Powder's gone now. So maybe she thinks Jinx has got to be stopped. Maybe there's a part of her mind that thinks if I can find Jinx, then maybe something can change. And that's playing on it. Oh yeah, KG, please do. I don't think I saw that on the video itself. If it was in the Patreon, then there's like 200 comments or something, or like 100, high hundreds. It's quite hard to sift through. Sorry. The Vanda lookalike guy also wears an enforcer uniform. What, as in when he's part of the strike force, or prior to that? That's from Ober42. Good to have you with us, Ober42. I think Vi shook her hand because of what Maddie said. She's a good one. Yeah, I get that. But the level of disgust she has for enforcers, they killed her parents. Like, is that all it takes? Like, Maddie just says something nice. Like, it just doesn't, I don't know. There's something odd there about that exchange. I can't quite figure out what it is. Maybe it's just me. Maybe maybe I'm the oddity in that exchange. Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, KG, you're making me think there. I think that Vi was also remembering that Kate is also an enforcer. It has been the whole time. Okay. But Kate's an enforcer, but also a potential love interest. Does that change things? Hextech weapons certainly help. Yeah, but they're still up against Shimmer. And there's only like 4 in this strike force. Yeah, Marcus makes a good point here. She blames herself. This is Vi, I'm guessing. She blames herself for the attack because she believes she's responsible for how Jinx turned out and wants to make up for it, I think. Yeah, so maybe there's some responsibility there. Oh, I just copied it above. Was it this one? Oh, hold on. Oh no, misfired there. Was it this one? Where Maddie makes the distinction between Marcus's betrayal and good ones, possibly thinking, if they don't see themselves as a cohesive unit, why am I still... I mean, that makes logical sense. But she could have just agreed, nodded her head, like shaking an enforcer's hand because they said something nice. I don't know. It just doesn't... Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that's how I see it, Harris. There is a bit of a trade-off, isn't there? She can see past the enforcer. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there was the fish guy, wasn't there? There's a lot of those fish guys about. I don't know what they're called. I don't know what hers, what their name is. It's because Maddie also tells Kate. It's because Maddie also tells Kate. Oh, let me try that again. It's because Maddie also tells how Kate convinced counselors to ask Vi to be an enforcer. Maybe they have something else up their sleeves besides Hex Tech. I don't know, because to be quite frank, I wasn't even particularly impressed by the Hextech weapons. The gauntlets are cool. It doesn't look like Jace is joining in with his hammer. I don't know if he's giving it to someone else. I doubt he will. Caitlyn, like, there was this whole animated scene of her with some kind of Hextech rifle, but it didn't look that impressive, really, I don't think. I haven't seen it. Maybe when it fires, it's going to be really good. But it looked a little bit piddly compared to the big hammer and the gloves. Okay, KG. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do. I just don't know if that's enough for me. I guess a question, has Vi ever given you an indication that she is ideologically opposed to the idea of enforcers? Wouldn't good enforcers be something she wants? I think it's just tied into the fact that they killed her parents. And I think that's probably a hard thing to look past. Like, I still don't know what led to that incident on the bridge in the very first episode. Would Vi be ideologically opposed to them? I don't know. KG's putting a solid argument here. I like everyone trying to convince me of this handshake. Like, I'm not... The other part of shaking a hand, I think, is that the first motivation you hear from Vi in this series is one day the city's going to respect us. All right, so maybe Vi is feeling a bit of respect there from what Maddie is saying. And maybe, you know, that scene where she throws the badge on the floor, she steps back in disgust and says, they killed my parents. Maybe asking her to join and become an enforcer at that point is just way over the threshold compared to shaking an individual enforcer's hand that's been nice to her. So maybe she can understand that they are unique individuals on one level, but she doesn't want to join them. And I'm not sure if joining the strike force is really joining the enforcers. I think it's a very specific purpose there at the end. Yeah, Alex is right. The moment you divide everything into black and white and kind of sides, it does all start to fall apart. It's kind of like real life, isn't it? Things get really messy really quickly. She wants Piltover's respect rather than its judgment. And in that moment, the person she expected to judge her, most instead gave her respect. Yeah. I get that. I get that. It's just the handshake. It just threw me off. And even that perspective, Carol, I just thought she could have got her to leave her alone without contact. I get it. I get all your perspectives. I get it. I get it. It's just, it felt a bit off to me. And KG, like, that's what's so great about the show, isn't it? Because we can unpick this a little bit and try to see this from different perspectives. And like, it's interesting that it feels off for me. And I'm quite, I think, unique in this perspective. But for other people, like, it doesn't seem off. And like, why is that? Why is it so off for me, but not for other people? Like, what's that saying about me and my perspective in this? Like, maybe I'm just taking a really rigid, like, this is disgust. She's shown disgust, therefore she will show disgust in these situations. And that maybe that's a very, what we would call a rule, a cognitive rigid rule I've set up for myself. And that rigid rule I've set up for myself is having an impact on how I see this, which is exactly what we do in cognitive therapy. We start trying to take other perspectives and understanding different points of view. And it's not so much to completely change someone's mind on something, it's to just loosen its grip a bit. So you can be a little bit more flexible in the thinking. Without saying too much, this season tries to, let me get rid of this, that's just me. Without saying too much, this season tries to pack even more into each interaction than they did before. Sometimes that succeeds, sometimes it might not. Because I'm guessing there's only this season, isn't there? So I've only got 8 episodes left, and it feels like there's still quite a lot to happen. The whole point of Vi and Kate seeing each other's perspectives is to get over their illogical preconceptions. The show agrees that it's not easy for Vi to be fine with enforcers. Yeah. Vander 2.0 wears the uniform, then Vi meets him for the first time. Oh, did we see him wearing a uniform before that? I thought the first time I saw him was when she throws the bottle and it hits him. And they purposely have like the paper over his head and he comes out of the shadows because we know that looks like Vander. And I talked about potential transference that might happen. She also told Kate that they wouldn't let things unravel. The only way she can do that is she's with Kate. Yeah, fair enough. It's the contact that is bothering you. Yeah, it's the handshake. Yeah. I could get her. Yeah, thanks, Maddie. Like a little wave to move her on, or like a way, like I'm accepting what you said to me. That's fine. It's to me like shaking someone's hand. Maybe this is where it comes from. It's really personal. It's a really personal thing. I think it's meant to feel off. Well, they're succeeding for me in a way. But it's all right. Like, that's okay. Like, I'm all right feeling off. I'm all right with the discomfort with this. Yeah. So Harris brings this up. I think you're applying, as in me, a level of immovability to Vi, which she hasn't displayed. She's very resistant to the idea. And the show is trying to move her just a bit in this episode by leveraging Kate. Yeah, possibly. Possibly I've kind of built this rule around Vi in my own mind. And because she has broken that rule that I've made for her, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Which is interesting because quite often that's what I see in my clinical practice of people applying rules to like real world people in their relationships. And then when that rule is broken, even though the person they've applied it to has no idea that's what the rule is, when they inevitably break it, it causes some discomfort. Each episode is packed full. I'm looking forward to it. He wears a blue coat. I think it's like an enforcer. But I don't even remember seeing him before that scene. Or was he wearing it in that scene? No, that's right, Harris. I made the connection. That's fine. I got it. But I think it like it's a good point because I think bringing awareness to our own like cognitive biases or our own cognitive rules that we've made for ourselves, just being aware of that can help you get some distance from it and think about something another way. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. But the context feels a bit different. You're right. Yeah. I'm just wondering if I mean, Vi clearly has a romantic connection with Caitlyn. I don't know why I call it Caitlyn sometimes and Kate other times. And maybe that sense of wanting connection just overrules her disgust that she's an enforcer. But Maddie's like a stranger at that point. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm so kind of caught up in it, but I mean, there was like, yeah, and there's that kind of trust was kind of built, wasn't it, over time. I mean, Maddie, it's just, I don't know. My only point really was that it just felt uncomfortable. Right, so it's coming up to 7 minutes to 10. We've had a look at Cupcake's old formulation, which kind of has changed, but kind of hasn't at the same time, because her worldview is still shifting. She's still trying to find herself to some degree. She's gone back to her justice, protection, serving values. Those are the values that she had before, but she kind of broke them when she made the choice not to shoot Jinx. Catastrophic consequences for her and everyone, really. And she's now, looks like she's taking a very certain and strong stance towards protection and justice again, with her 3 objectives in her mission. So the question will be, will she follow it through, Or will she get sidetracked again by some kind of emotional pull to something else in the moment? It's like when we think of values, so if she values justice and protection, then the natural thing to do with that is, how do I turn that into a behavioral action? Now, how do I take my value and put it into action? And really, if you're just playing by those two values, then she probably should have shot Jinx. But she got sidetracked by Vi's pleading. So not only did she not want to hurt Vi, but she wanted to protect any future relationship she has with her, and she knew that would be lost if she shot Jinx. So her decision-making got interrupted by the emotional content of that moment. And we see this all the time in kind of like, you know, those ethical dilemmas that you get presented with. Let the bridge. Look, you think the scratching on the bridge, I'm still in the process of making the video about whether she said mama or not. If I should let something go. Well, because a behavioral action is very different to an emotional driven action. A behavioral action on your values should be driven by your values. So if her values were protection and justice, she should have shot Jinx. But her emotion of I want connection with Vi got in the way of that. Her decision not to shoot Jinx, was emotionally led. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Just be clear. I'm just talking about the impact it had on decision making. And that decision had consequences. It could be. Could be based on that. But then there's something there about her value of protection and justice are values that tend to serve others, whereas connection is probably more serving herself. And she probably has both. She probably has a value of wanting connection herself, and she probably values protection and justice of others. She probably values the two. I'm not saying she doesn't. But in that moment, she chose one. And I guess my question is, what's going to happen this time round when I'm guessing inevitably at some point Caitlyn is going to come face to face with Jinx? My prediction is that Vi is going to be there. And Caitlyn's response is probably either going to be swayed by her previous experience of what happened when she didn't take the shot, as in her mum got killed, and throwing into that decision-making moment will be Vi's response. So is Vi going to repeat her, don't shoot her, she's my sister thing? Or is Vi really going to take the stance of, my sister is gone, take this shot? It's going to muddy everything again. You would be thinking that the previous time she was in that situation and she made a decision, she was massively punished for it. So she should make a different decision next time. But things are never that easy. Yeah. I mean, that's happened since, hasn't it? Like the consequences of that not poor decision making. It wasn't a poor decision. She made the decision. The consequences were what they were. What I'm afraid is her grief will come to impulsive decisions. It could do. She might have a shot on Jinx later and just pull the trigger without even thinking about it too much. That desire there from what she did to her mum just might be there. I really put an emphasis on Kate also desiring truth. She likes truth, doesn't she? She likes solving puzzles for sure. I think she was also curious if Vi was right. That powder's still in there and she makes the wrong choice, potentially. Oh, over 42. In the memorial attack scene, did you notice that the door of the airship looked like a jaw of Jinx's grenade, which could mean Silka already had prepared for an attack on Piltover and Jinx was involved? Potentially. Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe they've been preparing for something similar at some point. Don't. Don't. Let's not start that conversation now. Actually, the video that I'm kind of preparing for this does look at like 3 different perspectives. I really hate videos which I make where I'm like, this is what I think is going on. Because there's always part of me that doesn't really think that. There's part of me that thinks there's another perspective. So when I tend to make videos, I try to balance it out a bit. Although I don't do that when I do my mental health videos on my other mental health channel, because I think quite often that just confuses people more when it comes to things that they can do to help themselves. Especially when the evidence base is quite mixed for things. It can get really complicated for people. Right, it's 3 minutes past 10. Let's have a bit of a cool down period, a bit of a chill out period, maybe 5 minutes. I think we've done Caitlyn's grief.